Hello and welcome. I'm Shelby Bandy, and we're going to be talking about dealing with copyright infringement and keeping everyone happy in this case study. In this case study, where we learned about a man named Keith Sample, who was hired as principal at St. Regis School. He was not born into this community, and he felt moving there and becoming principal, it was more difficult to make relationships and a positive rapport with the community than it had been previously. At his school, they receive state allocated funds and they are able to raise money through the PTA. So the PTA did raise money to purchase a computer software, and the computer software was put onto every computer in the computer lab. Teachers began to take their classes to the computer lab, but one teacher said, I think it'd be really cool if I had this in my classroom. That way I would not have to deal with, taking my class to the computer lab. So the LTE, Mrs. Lynn, copies the software onto a few blank CDs with intent to put the software onto other computers throughout the school. Mrs. Brandon, a newer teacher, raises a concern about copyright law and that copying the software might go against that. And she talks to Principal Sample about it. Now, Principal Sample tells her, yeah, this is a valid concern. I'll go talk to Mrs. Lynn. Mrs. Lynn questions the severity of her actions and argues that nobody will notice and nobody will care. The school deserves this. Principal Sample must figure out how to rectify what has happened while staying in the good graces of his teachers and the community. So let's talk about legal versus ethical. On the left side of the screen, you will see the legal portion. It's black and white, just like copyright law. Copyright law is a form of protection given to authors and creators to protect their work. It is illegal for anyone to do any of the things I have in bullet points without the permission of the creator. Now, Mrs. Lynn struggles between legality and the matter of her ethical struggle. So Mrs. Lynn asked, "What is Mrs. Brandon's problem? Do I need to let the PTA officers know and explain how much money the school will save by copying these expensive, worthwhile programs?" So Miss Lynn, she's saving the school a lot of money. That's really important. And she continues, "Do you really think anyone will know or care about a few copies for the classrooms? We're 25 miles from the closest city." Although I'm not sure how that's correlated, she feels that she is owed those computer software programs because they live further from the city. After the purchase of a software by the PTA, the LTE made copies of the purchased software in order for other classrooms to utilize the software as well. Let's get really clear about who, where, and what we're talking about. Keith Sample, principal, invested in his reputation and his rapport. Mrs. Lynn, the LTE, who used PTA funds to purchase a new software to help students. Now, she also copied the software for teachers to use in their classrooms. Mrs. Brandon is the teacher that alerted Mr. Sample to what was going on. Mrs. Williams was the person to ask Mrs. Lynn to copy the software so she could begin to use it. And the PTA raised funds in order to purchase the new software. Where is this happening? St. Regis School, 25 miles from a large city. Its designation would be rural. Their program is K through 8. They have 420 students. They have 2 special education teachers along with 18 other teachers. They receive funds, like I've said, through state allocation and fundraisers from the PTA. Let's go through these really quick questions. Could the conflict situation decision be damaging to stakeholders or the community? Yes. If this problem is not taken seriously and worked on within a good amount of time, it can look really bad on the entire district. Not only just that teacher, just that LTE, just that principal, but the entire district could really have their reputation damaged. Have all the stakeholders been consulted? Nope, the district has not been notified. What individuals and groups have important stake in the outcome? The district, the principal, the LTE, the teachers, and you could even manage to say the students and the community. If a school begins to have a negative reputation because they went against copyright, that's going to impact the entire community. Can I learn more about the situation? Yes. Do I know enough to make a decision? No. So, what are my options? First, why don't we just keep on moving? I won't pay attention and I'll allow the employees to continue as they are. This is what Mr. Sample's thinking. Second option is to tell the district, their lawyers, and the software company that they breached copyright law. Just like really admit it. The third has a few variations. Research the software company's copyright. Can you purchase more? Can you purchase a license that allows the school to duplicate it? Take and destroy all the copies that were made and give a lesson to all staff members about copyright. Check to ensure the school district does not already have an agreement with the software company that allows schools to breach copyright. We're going to go through each of these options in more depth, the pros and the cons. So first option, if Principal Sample did not take action and allowed his employees to continue, most employees would remain happy because they get to continue to use the software and it's not really impacting them then. There would be more copies of the software for the students to use. Pretty simple, right? The cons, you're breaking the law. When the school is caught and found guilty, the repercussions would be worse because they knew what they were doing is illegal. Option 2, the problem would be out of your hands if you told your higher ups, so you would not have any control of it anymore. Your track record shows that you did not attempt to hide anything, which is really important when you are dealing with court of law. The problem would be solved in quotations because really it's not solved, it's just out of your hands. The cons, your employees would probably lose trust in you. If they told you a problem that was going on and all you did was go to your higher ups and tattletale on them, is what my middle schoolers like to say, then they would feel like they've lost your trust rather than why can't we fix this as a group? It looks as if you cannot solve problems on your own. Again, in my school, we work diligently to solve any problems with the people involved before we go outside of that. 3, there could be legal repercussions for you and your staff. You did break a law. Option 3. So this is the one with variations. The pros to this one is having more information about the situation you are in allows you to make informed decisions. The last thing you want to do is make a naive decision that you have to backtrack later. 2, destroying the copies eliminates the chance of your staff using illegal copies. Yes, it is breaking the law to make the copies, but if you continue to break the law by using those copies, you're not helping anyone. 3, some districts do have agreements with software companies that allow them to create copies. Be knowledgeable. Like Adobe, if you purchase one of their agreements, then you are, or a license, you're able to have that product on any computer in the entire school. Now, some licenses and agreements are different, but they do offer that. So possibly that they could have been offered that and they just didn't know. Cons, no matter the knowledge, there was still staff that was unaware of copyright law, and that needs to be fixed. So no matter if the contract said they could make copies, they didn't know that they were breaking copyright law. So you need to fix that. And then he may find or he may find after his research that him and his staff are still in the wrong. They might have bought the wrong license and made these copies without the permission of the owner. So then you have to fess up to that. Best option, both B and C. All stakeholders must be notified of the violation. If it's going to impact them, you need to let them know what's going on. Do your research about the agreement that you have with that software company. Educate your teachers on copyright law. Educate employees and community members that being educated about laws and following the law is of utmost importance. Not just knowing, not just following, but both. Here is my path. First, I would address the issue head on with those involved. I would get a union representative who knows all about the laws to help me navigate this situation. I am not a professional in law, and I would like to have the help of someone who is. I would hold a meeting for my staff and community about how serious we need to take laws, all laws, and that we aren't owed anything. Mrs. Lynn's mentality of we're owed this because we're 25 miles from a city is unfair and it's not going to do us any favors. I would deal with the repercussions as they come while remaining completely transparent with my staff about what is happening. There are going to be repercussions. You broke a law. Just let everyone know what's going on. Outcome. I imagine that there would be some type of fine or payment that needed to be given to the owner of the software. I imagine many of my team members would disagree with my stance on the situation because they want to take the easy way out. And disagreeing is good. It's healthy. It's a positive thing to be able to talk about. Now, holding grudges is not. Overall, I imagine that something like this would not happen again because my staff would be educated. Now, who needs to know? I would notify a union lawyer with intent to become more knowledgeable about the situation. I would notify my employees who are involved, and I would notify the main district people so that no one is blindsided. I cannot deal with this with just the people who are involved. Although that would be lovely, when you break a law, it's bigger than you and me and Mrs. Lynn. It's everybody. Warn, don't threaten. So, how would I deal with this? Again, I would educate my staff members. That would be their warning. Let's show them what happened, what went wrong, and how we can make sure that that doesn't happen to us. I feel like I don't necessarily need a plan B only because my plan has A through C included. But if I did have to pick a plan B, I would think my next logical move would be to continue asking for help and continue educating myself on the situation. Here are my resources, and thank you so much for following along. Have a great day.